Today is Tuesday, June 3rd, 7 p.m. To watch the live telecast, go to https:/@dailycitygov-streams or on Comcast Channel 7. There are three ways to submit public comments. Email your comment directly to the Planning Division, submit written comments via the city's website, and attend the meeting in person. To email your comment, simply email a comment to the planner identified in the public hearing notice or send the email to mvanlocusen@dailycity.org. Public comments may also be emailed to the same email address by including Planning Commission public comment in the subject line. To submit a comment via the city's website, please visit www.dailycity.org/agendas to complete the public comment form. In the comment field box, include the item number and the title of the item as well as your comments. To speak at the meeting in person, please complete a speaker card located at the entrance to the City Council chambers and submit it to a staff member as early as the meeting as possible. Persons with disabilities who require auxiliary aids or services in attending or participating in this meeting should call the office of Michael Van Locusen at 650-991-8158 as soon as possible. We start the meeting by pledging to the flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now we do roll call, please.
Yes. Satori, absent. Paniza, absent. Babua,
Present.
Chris,
Present.
Katwar.
Present. So now we go on to the approval of minutes for December 3rd, 2024. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes from December?
Motion.
Second.
Voice votes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. And approval for minutes of May 6, 2025.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
So meeting minutes approved for December and May. Now we go to public hearing. May I call Sarah Turner, please, to the front. Hi, Sarah.
Wait, what item is it?
Oh,
No, she's on item 3.
okay. So Sarah, I'm so sorry. Are you speaking on an item on the agenda? Okay.
The marijuana dispensary.
Yeah. So
Six.
So
that's item number
Six.
4. So we'll be giving a presentation and then we'll open it up for the public hearing.
okay, sorry about that, Sarah. And as well as Alfredo yes. So yes, for the agenda item when we get there. Thank you. Any other public comments for items not on the agenda tonight, this evening?
Call this one. Public hearing on this.
So do we have any
Public hearing, call it.
public hearing for 2945 Junipero Serra Boulevard, Planet Fitness Sign Program?
Yes.
Okay, so now we have Sam Fielding for the sign program SP-03-25-016-768 for Planet Fitness, 2945 Junipero Serra Boulevard, APN 006 2024-364-220.
Good evening, Planning Commissioner Chair Couture, Vice Chair Fapua, and the remaining Commissioner Norris, and members of the public. The item before you this evening is the 2945 Juniper Serra Planet Fitness Sign Program. The subject property is located at 2945 Juniper Serra, bordered by Washington Street to the north, Juniper Serra Boulevard to the west, and San Pedro Road to the south and east. The subject property is zoned BART Commercial within the BART Station Area Specific Plan and designated Commercial Mixed Use, CMU, in the general plan. The applicant is proposing to install a new digital reader sign on the Planet Fitness pylon sign along Juniper Serra Boulevard. City planning staff recommended a sign program for Planet Fitness to allow the digital reader sign and include sign improvements to the other existing second pylon sign as well as define the allowed signage for the Planet Fitness tenant. And this slide shows the entitlement required, the sign program. The sign program uses Chapter 17.32 signs of the planning code regarding the area and height requirements as a guide. A little bit on the background of the project. The applicant approached the city for approval of the modification of the existing standard text pylon sign to become a digital reader pylon sign, and this required a use permit. Staff visited the site and observed that there was a mix of weathered box signs and pylon signs and channel signs for Planet Fitness. The second pylon sign along Juniper Serra was observed to be rusting and have faded tenant signs. The goal of this sign program is to develop a sign program to allow a new Planet Fitness digital reader sign to be installed on the existing north pylon sign facing Juniper Serra Boulevard and improve the second south tenant pylon sign and outline a sign program with uniform style, size, and materials for the Planet Fitness frontages along Washington Street and Juniper Serra Boulevard. This slide shows an overview of the proposed signs that would be regulated by the sign program. As mentioned before, the pylon sign 1, which would include the digital reader sign on the lower half of the sign. And then there's a box sign, which is the existing box sign that's a letter copy board message sign on Washington Street. That would be removed. The existing yellow sign above would still be would remain on the wall there. And then, as mentioned on the pylon sign 2, there would be a repair and installation of new tenant signs and the illuminated channel letter wall sign. The sign program would follow the following proposed sign standards, going over providing variety and diversity of the signs, encouraging signs with creative names and or logos. The new signage would not have phone numbers or email addresses on the signs. Wall signs that are balanced and in scale with the context of the sign space and building. And then the regulation regarding the height and visually proportioned and balanced to the building. And then the other two items there regarding the lighting. These are some of the existing site photos of the site. This is the frontage along Juniper Serra with the arrows pointing out the two pylon signs. These are close-ups of the sign, the Planet Fitness sign on your left there, and then the other tenant signage, the other tenant pylon sign that would be improved. This is the Planet Fitness sign as it is today. The lower half there is where the digital sign would be installed. And these are two-sided signs. This is the existing box sign located on Washington Street frontage. So the letter copy board sign will be removed and the building wall painted to match the existing wall color. And the Planet Fitness backlit box sign will remain. So the yellow sign at the top will remain. This is just a map plan showing the location of the signs. This is the Planet Fitness sign plan showing the dimensions of the Planet Fitness sign, 168 inches in length and 108 inches in height. The overall pylon sign is the existing sign. That's not changing. It's about 19 feet, 4 inches. Both of the first pylon sign and the second pylon sign are the same height. This slide shows the digital reader. And look, and it's located on the lower half of the Planet Fitness pylon sign. Again, this is showing the locations of the Planet Fitness pylon sign and the digital reader. And then on sign C, you could see where the Planet Fitness illuminated sign on the wall is going to be added. I believe it, like currently it's yellow, so they're proposing it to change it to a purple color. It's a backlit illuminated sign. And this has the dimensions for the Planet Fitness wall sign. So staff has reviewed the project for the California Environmental Quality Act and has determined that it is exempt pursuant to section 15301, existing facilities, class 1, in that the sign involves minor alteration of existing private structures involving negligible or no expansion of the existing or former use, and also involves changing the existing copy of the signs. Staff finds that the project is consistent with the city's general plan designation and zoning, the Daly City Code sections chapter 17.32 and 17.44, and the project is exempt pursuant to CEQA section 15301, existing facilities. Staff has determined that the proposal, let's see. Yeah, I already mentioned that. Staff is recommending that Planning Commission recommend approval to the City Council, the approval of the sign program for the 2945 Juniper Serra Planet Fitness sign program. And this concludes my presentation. We also have the applicant, Bob McLennan, available to answer questions along with staff. Thank you.
Thanks, Em. Does anyone have any questions? Any questions or regarding?
No, I would just say that I think this is a very nice proposal for a business that's been here for many years and that is an integral part of our community. And I appreciate the fact that the business people in our community continue to improve their businesses, and it just makes our whole community look nicer and better. And so I think this is a real plus as far as that goes. I would support it.
Thank you, Tom.
No, I too support it. It's about time to change that sign over there too. So it's a good way to promote, that corner right there, and it's eye-catching to how the fonts and the colors that it's going to be applying. So thank you.
Okay, so can I get a motion for approving the sign program SP dash 03 dash 25 dash 016768?
Motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So, action is approved. Can we go to next item, item 3?
Thank you, Sam.
Thank you.
Thanks, Em. So for this is item 3, 3,
4.
says on my sheet it's 3. It's 4, okay. For item 4, Tatum Motherhead will speak on the zone change ZC dash 04 dash 24 dash 16507, amendments to the zoning map, rezoning parcels to be included in the existing CC Commercial Cannabis Combining District.
Good evening, Honorable Chair, members of the Commission. It's nice to see you this evening. So before you this evening, we have amendments to the zoning map to rezone parcels to be included in the Commercial Cannabis Combining District. Just a bit of background here. The Commercial Cannabis Combining District was originally proposed to have 12 eligibility zones that would include 230 properties. This was back in 2021. And those eligibility zones that were selected at that time looked at a map and created buffer zones around schools and youth centers. But in 2021, after some public hearings, the residents and community organizations did express concerns about the number of eligibility zones, because again, there were 12 zones that would allow for a total of 12 cannabis retailers citywide. Areas of particular concern were School Street, Mission Street, and Skyline Plaza. When the city council reviewed the combining district back in 2021, they did remove School Street and Mission Street, and also wanted to pull out the Bayshore neighborhood. The Skyline Plaza neighborhood did get approved for a cannabis overlay zone. So this was the map that was originally used to select the zones. The areas in red were the cannabis zones, and the areas in green were parks and schools. So since the adoption of the overlay zones, the city has had 3 businesses. Megabud at Skyline Plaza, that's currently closed, so it's not in operation. And then there are 2 open businesses, one Catalyst Dispensary at 1000 King Drive, and Nectar at 2468 Hunabracera Boulevard. Since they've been able to operate, staff hasn't seen any negative impacts to the neighborhood as a result of the businesses. Another thing we learned is, again, with the 7 cannabis zones that we have, we didn't see that there was this, demand to have each zone occupied. So this is a little slide to kind of go over what we currently have. So when it was approved, 6 eligibility zones were approved with 1 retailer allowed in each zone. Then there was an amendment in July of 2023 that allowed an additional zone at 1618 Sullivan. So that makes for a total of 7 zones. And again, we only have 2 that are currently operating. The overlay district doesn't require any further discretionary approval. So the approval of the zones then puts the actual opening of a new facility in a ministerial process, a business license process that does have added review, security requirements, background checks, those sorts of things, but that's occurring at the ministerial level. The proposal for you this evening is to reconsider two of the zones that were left out on the first adoption of the overlay district. So we're looking at including Mission Street and Geneva Avenue. So that would create two new eligibility zones for two new potential retailers. So this is Area A. This is Mission Street between Crocker Avenue and Templeton Avenue. So this is near the San Francisco border. So this would allow one more business in this zone here. There's a lot more property owners here. So in some of the other zones you have, like for example, Skyline Plaza, you actually only have a single property owner. So like if they don't want a cannabis business, then you just wouldn't have one. So here there's a lot more opportunities because you have more property owners. And then the second eligibility zone is actually, it's one eligibility zone, but it has two areas. So this is one portion of the area on Geneva Avenue. It's between Talbot Street and Bayshore Boulevard. And then the second area is between Castillo and Calgary. So in combination of the two areas, you could get one additional retailer. And then another background is this was reviewed by a council committee. So council committees reviewed this. This was also presented to the Small Business Commission because this is creating business opportunity. So both bodies are recommending that we consider adding the two new zones. Staff has reviewed this in relation to the California Environmental Quality Act and does suggest that it's exempt. And finally, staff is recommending that the commission adopt the findings and again, reassert that the rezonings are exempt from CEQA. And then furthermore, forward a recommendation to the city council to add the two new cannabis overlay zones. The city council would also conduct a public hearing for this proposal. So that concludes my presentation. Available if you have any questions or comments.
So I do have some questions. Okay, so my first question is the 12 zones that you mentioned. Where did they come up with the number 12 and how was that decided?
Okay, so again, 12 was the initial proposal, so we currently only have 7. But what we did is we looked at the map and found the commercial areas that are outside of the sort of green buffer areas. So we were looking at C1 zoned property, property that allows general retail type uses. So we do have a couple shopping centers that are planned developments. Those weren't considered because they're planned developments. They're not C1 zoning. And then if you had like a single one-off, I think in some cases you'd have a random gas station somewhere that was C1. We didn't select that one. But so we looked at the areas that would meet that criteria, and that's what was proposed. And then from there, that's what was reduced.
Okay, but we don't necessarily have to accommodate 12. No.
Well, no, because some were removed. So right now, the city only has 7 zones.
So the Megabud, did we find out why are they temporarily closed? Is that going to be open back?
They are wanting to reopen. I think the reason they closed, I think it was more of a business decision, some owner structure changes, that sort of thing.
And then what are the legal distance from each zone?
There is no legal requirement to create a distance between the zones. That's the city's prerogative.
Okay, the one that The one that is recommending for Bayshore and Geneva, there is one already in on not Geneva, but it's over there in Bayshore, closer to where I'm looking at if this is going to pass. I know San Francisco. What is that coming down and then Geneva,
So it's in San Francisco,
not Third Street.
Bayshore Boulevard?
Is it Bayshore Boulevard? And then Geneva is the cutting street. Anyways, there's one right there. It's almost close to the grocery outlet that is over there in San Francisco, closer to Bayshore. I don't know if that's considered enough for that, for Bayshore.
Well, that would be San Francisco. I mean, that's
Yeah.
certainly something,
I know it's San Francisco, but I also am looking at the youth. I'm looking at. I know that we're trying to bring business, but I'd rather bring more business other than cannabis. You know, I'd rather have other like. We need a store there at Bayshore. We need a grocery store there in Bayshore in that area instead of another cannabis. I I respect to everybody that is used cannabis for recreation or whatever their needs is. But I'm looking at the long run for the youth and for individuals. Not everybody there will want a cannabis. They would rather have a clinic there for hospital. People in Bayshore will have to climb the mountain or to go across to go to a hospital than to have a cannabis. That's just my but thank you for the presentation. Miss Motherhood.
So can you clarify for each zone, a retail cannabis, one retail cannabis is allowed, right? So are there any retail cannabis stores in these zones? Because you mentioned two dispensaries currently operating.
they're retail.
Oh, considered retail, okay. So, and I'm surprised that this is a zone change request for Mission Street on Crocker, when if you're on Mission, you see the signage of, and it wasn't approved as such. So, I, it seems to me that they're already operating a retail cannabis business there because of their signage, because of the fluorescent signage that these liquor stores slash I don't know what they are it's it's I mean those businesses were not approved to of use of that signage, and now I'm surprised that it's being it's being reconsidered for rezoning because they're already operating like it's a retail business. If you pass through Mission Street on Crocker, I'm familiar with that area. I used to take the bus there.
Okay.
So, number one, we just discussed signage permits in the previous item. So, can we, I mean, is it off track? But I feel like if it's approved yearly signages for businesses, why hasn't why have we not looked at signage for those businesses on Mission Street? They're not even supposed to be advertising these images, right? Like they're not approved for that.
Okay.
And that is highly residential area and busy area. We're redeveloping, I mean, we're trying to redevelop and improve that area of Daly City with, our festivals, and, to have that signage is really, really not okay. They were not approved. In fact, I remember Mayor Rod specifically said you cannot use those images. And every time I pass through there, it's more and more. Like they're adding more and more. And it's to the public, it seems like why are we contemplating adding more zones when it feels like there's a lot already because of those signage that's not even supposed to have those signs, right? Dispensaries I know are very discreet. You can't even walk in there without your prescription. It's not supposed to advertise, what it is. Only those who have health needs can visit these dispensaries. There's a security out, by the door. You can't just walk in. It's not like such a retail space, unlike those businesses on Mission and Crocker now. So I think, that's what the public is very concerned about. It's looking like that area is really catering or advertising for people who want, recreational marijuana that, Daly City has a lot because of the signage. So I'm surprised that, they're not zoned for it because they're certainly advertising for it right now.
Well, we can certainly look into those because it is, selling cannabis is not
Can I ask a
allowed.
question? Are you aware of any of this? Has anyone complained? Or has the issue been brought to the city in any way, shape, or form?
I'm not
from the
aware
public?
of any cannabis businesses on Mission Street, but
I
we
mean-
can certainly look into it.
Well, if they would be there, they would have to have a license. They would have to have gone through
Well-
all of this.
Were not approved. They're liquor stores.
Well,
And
if they're
they're
liquor stores, then they're not cannabis dispensaries.
well,
So,
but they advertise, the image
of what?
of the
Like a
cannabis.
cannabis leaf?
Yes.
Or, okay.
Yes.
But do they sell it?
I personally have not walked in to purchase or buy or inquire, but anyone who passes through it, seeing like that this is a sign advertising for beer or cigarettes, and then like a cannabis leaf, like you
But we
would-
don't know for a fact that they sell anything.
But they can't have that sign though. They
Oh,
can't. They're
okay.
not.
Well,
They're not
I guess that's what I'm
approved
wondering
to-
is I'm glad that we're finding this out, but how long has this been going on?
for years.
Well, then why are we not hearing about this? If the public has been seeing this for years, why haven't we brought this to the attention of the city for years now to get rid of it?
I believe there has been public comment in the past, complaining about the abundance of these, rezoned areas selling, marijuana because of the signage. Like, it's a misunderstanding that we're allowing this when we're not. We're not allowing these signages. They're not approved for in that zone. Now they're just only applying to sell it when they've been advertising it for years. Now, I hear you. I'm not 100% sure that they're selling it, but the fact that, they have signage, they have the nylon signs, they have the light signs that have, these images.
So does that affect then us making a decision about opening up zones if somebody has a sign that creates an image, but we don't even know for sure if it's legal or illegal? Where does that fit into making a decision now about zones? I understand and I appreciate your concern, but I don't know where that fits into the decision-making tonight. We're asked to add 2 more zones to the 7 that are already there, and that would mean that there could be possibly 2 more retail places if anyone were to apply, qualify, and be able to open a business there. And I guess what we're seeing also is that this influx of cannabis has had really no effect on the communities at this point, and it's been the ones that have been there have been going on for a while, and they haven't disrupted anything. And so they're legal businesses, and I think it's kind of hard to say no to legal businesses. And I appreciate the fact that the neighborhood in the Bayshore needs other types of things. But those spots are, if they're sitting empty, they've been sitting empty for a long time, and there's no guarantee that if you say no to cannabis there, some stores are going to open, because the stores haven't opened now and they haven't for a long time. And so that's a whole other issue that I think we should address. How do we get the kind of businesses we want there? But if those businesses aren't going there, it's not because of cannabis. So I see these as separate issues. We're being asked to open up other opportunities, and I don't know that I'm hearing a lot that says we shouldn't at this point.
Well, I say that it's not the first time that this conversation, it has been brought to the city's attention to have grocery store
Oh, I know,
and
yeah.
in Bay Shore.
Very
And I
important.
really get what you're saying, Mr.
Yeah.
Norris. But who will not say to cannabis? Because it's a fast-making money. And that's what any city will go. You know, if you look at the zoning over here, I don't think neither of us sitting over here or even the city council live the house next to the campus or even two houses down from a campus. I don't think none of us would do. I can just imagine what the individuals or residents of Daly City who lives and resides near these zonings. And if to open up another two, that will make it 9. That will make it 9. So
Well, I would just tell you that my office is right next door to the dispensary, Nectar, which
Yeah.
is one of them that's there. My office is right next door to it.
But you don't live
on
there.
It's on the same block. I'm there more than I do at my house.
But you don't
And I'm
live there,
And I'm
Mr.
there all
Norris.
day long, okay? And I don't see any huge lines. I never see people going in or out. The parking lot is empty. I haven't seen it impact my business or the neighborhood or anything. And I'm right next to it. I've been watching it now since it opened. I was looking for things that might be negative. So I can give you that personal observation that I don't see any problem with it as far as it corrupting the neighborhood, ruining the neighborhood. It's right across the street from McDonald's, and right next door to my office, and it doesn't do
I
anything.
think it's the signage, right?
Yeah,
Like
and
the
I
signage
think
needs
that's
to be discreet.
I think that's an excellent point, and I think
Like Nectar
signage
signage is very
issue-
discreet.
right, and I think, so to be clear, the cannabis businesses go through a higher level of review.
Yes.
They have, in order
Yes.
to open, there's a police
It's the
walkthrough.
non-cannabis approved.
Right. So there is a lot of illegal signage in Daly City. It's a difficult thing to stay on top of, but it is something that I think does impact the Mission Street corridor particularly. That is something that we could look at as sort of a separate issue, because
Yes.
you can have bad signage and be a restaurant. You
Sure.
can have bad signage and be a convenience market or something like that. So I think that point's well taken, and that's something that should be considered. But again, that's more uniform to all businesses that face Mission Street, as well as citywide. Obviously, bad signs can sort of look cluttered anywhere. But I do think
Right.
because the frontages on Mission Street are so small, and you have that separate ownership, you do sort of have this haphazard pattern of signage, and a lot of people do not get permits. And so code enforcement is a difficult task, but we can certainly direct some efforts to that area.
So there's a possibility that once, these areas get approved or rezoned, they'll be subject to more stringent, signage laws.
The cannabis businesses will, because they're
Yes.
sort of under a microscope. I think some of the issues with the signage in general, I know there's some complaints about like the really bright LED lights
Right.
that, go around.
distracting,
That's
right.
actually
Yeah.
not considered signage, that's considered lighting, and technically our sign ordinance doesn't address that. So that would be something that we'd have to look at and maybe potentially bring to the commission and ultimately the city council, coming up with a modified, changing the sign ordinance to address some of the new, the new features we're seeing
Right.
happening with signage everywhere. Because I think a lot of businesses are incorporating that really bright LED lighting everywhere. I don't think it's necessarily just a Daly City issue. So, I think one thing we could consider is looking at our sign ordinance. And again, that would apply to all businesses.
So you're saying right now there are only two in operation in Daly City?
Two cannabis businesses,
Okay,
correct?
okay. I just want,
And-
yes.
Right. And
Okay.
the two of them, one's on King Drive and the other one is right up the street. And their signage is
Very
legal
good.
and
Okay.
it's, yeah.
And you know, and even if we don't recommend it to the council, or we do recommend it, the three of us today, it's really up to the city,
It
the
is.
council, to
Exactly.
say, well, forget what they say, we're just gonna go for it, you know?
Want to call the public
Yeah,
comment?
so what we're doing today is to approve, to recommend for the two more
And also to hear, public comment.
from the public
on-
comment.
So who do you have? Yeah, should call the public comment.
Are you,
Want to open
Read
the
it.
public hearing?
okay, so now we call on public comment on
Call the name.
this.
Read the name.
Yeah, hold on. Public comment for this item, number 4, Sarah Turner.
Okay, hello. Hi. Sorry. So my name, I don't really like this. My name is Sarah. I live and work in the Mission Street area. So my main concern is the area A, this one here. So there is actually, as you had mentioned too, there's 3 vape shops nearby and there's 3 dispensaries just a half mile up on Mission Street that is in San Francisco. But what I didn't hear you guys talk about is that I have done a little research and I've noticed that the California law says this dispensaries cannot be within 600 feet of a daycare. And there is a daycare right in the center here at 6133 Mission Street. And there's also a playground, Lincoln Park, and there's also a couple blocks up the George Washington Elementary. So placing one in this area, it would be too close to a daycare, which has been there for several years. I have been working at an oral surgery office for the past 11 years, and they've already redone it, trying to make it look nice. And the parking is awful. Patients complain all the time. We've actually lost patients because the meters are outdated. People double park. I hear the bus honking all day, every day, because people are double parked. And so that already is affecting businesses that have been there 11 years that are trying to help the community out by giving services of surgery. So I think adding that is just going to make that area more congested. I've seen people get hit on crosswalks. A couple of years ago, there was a shooting over there. So, people are trying to invest in that area to make it nice and clean and welcome. But I also think that you have to remember there is a daycare at 6133 Mission Street. That's been there for a while. And I think mainly, so I don't oppose like the areas B and the other ones, but just this one because of the daycare. And there is the school and the playground. And I'm over time.
Oh, it's okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Up next, Alfredo De La Rosa. Please come up.
Hi, I'm Alfredo De La Rosa, a building owner and a dentist by profession. I'm not in favor of increasing the number of cannabis stores in that area. For one reason, it's the recommendation of the staff is very flawed, meaning it's not accurate. First, the general welfare of the resident in that area. I don't know the staff if they know 70 to 80% of people living in that area are renters. And you don't include the renters to have a say of your plan in this area, okay? And secondly, the safety. I don't know the qualification of the staff who made the study. If they're a police officer, for fun, you drive 5 minutes going to Mission, the double parking right now. When I'm going here, say 5 cars blocking, no respect for the people passing by. And if you have your young daughter or son, you cannot live upstairs wherein the cannabis is selling it, right? And then thirdly, the health issue. Like a week ago, headline that young adults were taking marijuana 2 to 3 times a week, they are likely to have a heart disease, 25% to 45%. And then, like 5 or 7 years ago, that taking marijuana, they alter their sound judgment. Okay? And now, before unwinding my comment, there are 10,396 business permit or to operate in the state of California. They close their business. 10,000 out of 10,000, 1,058 are big cannabis seller, and they close also. You know what? 2025, they owe $1 billion of not paying taxes just alone to the state of California. I don't know if there's an accountant in Daly City who audited the two existing cannabis store here. You know, they're very smart. 10,000 they close. But Governor Newsom tried to increase by 25%. It's more 500% more expensive to do a cannabis business in state of California because of the booming business of the illegal selling of that merchandise. And they're using their expired inactive business, but nobody's checking it. They know it already. They're understaffed. And secondly, $726 million as of 23, they don't pay taxes. And now, what else? Oh, the health issue. I don't know the staff, if they have a medical background, the side effect of those. And please give a break for the poor family residing in that area to have a good life for their children. I have 3 children, all doctors. I don't ask a single penny to the government. Daly City is a laughing stock. The only hospital in the whole California, 80 to 90% are on medical uh, aid. Do you like that you heard from your peers or from your friend? I hoping the city council they make a plan not to depend on government welfare, food, shelter, and medical and dental. And lastly, what else I forgot? And that's it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other public comments?
None.
So before I go on to staff recommendation, I just want to say that, the income from these dispensaries, these retail businesses are small. It's not even a lot. I feel like, adding more zones will create a negative impact. We could, certainly, invite other businesses for, these areas that can benefit, families, like in general. So it's not, I'm not saying, I would, so this is generating income for the city, but I think, there's more. There's other things we can look at to generate income than like adding a dispensary. So for staff recommendation, adopting the findings as outlined, finding that the proposed rezonings are exempt from the requirements of the California CEQA pursuant to guidelines section of 15061 recommendation to the city council, the approval of zone change ZC-04-24-16507, adding into the combining district parcels fronting Mission Street between Crocker Avenue and Templeton Avenue, fronting the Geneva Avenue between Talbot Street and Bayshore Boulevard, and fronting Geneva Avenue between Castillo Street and Calgary Street. Do we do a roll call vote?
Well, first we need a motion and a second, and then we
Yes.
can vote. Before we do that, I want to thank the people that have come tonight to speak, okay? And I've heard you before, because you guys came before, and I appreciate your opinion, because we're all entitled to opinions. And I have also what I have experienced. Just as you heard what was going on in these neighborhoods, everybody heard it. And this room is not full of people. Daly City is not coming out by the hundreds, and people in all the neighborhoods are not here complaining. So I don't know what to make of the fact that there is no one else complaining about this in the community, and tonight is the night for the public hearing. And so I don't see a lot of people concerned about this. Maybe it's not that big of a concern. I understand the issues of traffic and about health, but liquor stores are very bad also. People drink alcohol, it ruins their health. It makes them unsafe on the roads. They kill people when they get behind the wheels. But a liquor store would be very legal and could go in there very easily. You could get cleaners go in there as well and have people double parking in front of the street to run in and get their laundry. So there's all kinds of businesses that impact traffic, that impact health, not just cannabis. And I'm not an advocate of cannabis myself. I'm just looking at a business that is trying to establish itself in an area, and it's a legal business. And so I'm looking at it only from that standpoint. And I don't know that I'm so afraid of it as far as that goes. It does not scare me. And I've lived by it now for almost a year, and I haven't seen the negative results. So I can only share my own personal opinions. So I would move the recommendation of staff, and if there's a second, then we can vote on it, either yes or no. So moved.
Do you have a second?
Nay.
No second?
No second.
Okay.
So the vote is to recommend this to city council?
Yes.
So since there was no second, we could have a new
Well,
motion?
you have to have a second so we can
didn't-
vote yes or no.
If there was a second, then you could vote on the item?
So you made a motion?
I made a motion.
If we could have a
Second.
second? Okay,
Second.
now we
All
can
right,
have a
so
roll
moved
call.
and seconded. So we should do roll call probably.
So roll call vote to move this item over to city council
For approval.
for approval.
Fa'apua,
Nay.
Nuris,
Aye.
Kator.
Yes. So motion has passed. It will go up to city council for consideration.
They can
They
decide.
can decide. But, hopefully we address the questions about the daycare and the park, if it's within the 600 feet.
It'll be out.
There
That's
are
very
actually
important.
two. If there's Bayshore, there's another one, Peninsula Family Service, which is not far away.
I think that
If that's
needs
the
to be
case.
I think it's
added
very
to the
important that
report.
we point that out.
Yes.
With our recommendation that they look at this, city council can hear it, everyone can come and let them know, because they're gonna have to make a decision anyway. And I think all of those points, I'm hoping that staff has
Yes.
taken note of it and will determine whether or not those are valid, because it might just throw them out altogether.
Yes.
So
I mean,
I
not
think
just the
it's important.
schools, but the daycare centers as well.
So thank you for pointing it out,
And this is why it's very important for, the public to come and, express, concerns because, we
Thank
need
you
to
for
hear.
being bravely to be here, and I hope that you guys set the tone for other community members that are not courageously or have the time to be here. So you being here plays that huge role.
for advocate for you and for your family and for your community.
Yeah, I mean, just from an oral surgery standpoint, we put people to sleep in surgeries. And I understand the liquor store, yes, but what's the world is coming to right now with marijuana is that we try to sedate like teenagers and we can't even sedate them because they've been around people inhaling marijuana. So we're using double the amount of medication to put someone to sleep to take wisdom teeth out, and that is more dangerous than to just, do every day and everything. So these young kids around the area, it's all densely, residential. They're all inhaling it, and I mean they do it at school too. They inhale it, and then what people don't want to talk about with marijuana is it's taking double the amount just to sedate them for 45 minutes, and that's very, very dangerous.
Wow.
So, I mean, it's not just here; it's like actually everywhere in the world. But
Yeah.
no one wants to talk about that.
Exactly.
It's very dangerous just inhaling it. So.
Do we have anything else? Is that it?
Any applications, vacations?
No.
No? So, we move for adjournment of the meeting?
Yep.
Yes.
Second. All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks
Paul.
for coming.